Thank you all for being here. My name's Ashley, and I'm the provost with Coach Training EDU. And I have the incredible opportunity to do these workshops with our alumni or even sometimes our coaches in training. And like I said, Roshaunda is absolutely amazing and one of the most beautiful souls I think I've met. And so I'm really excited for you to connect with her today and listen to what she has to share. All of the material that is a part of this workshop was created by Roshaunda. So it's not part of the CTEDU curriculum. This is all her design. So if you have any questions or would like to participate in anything that she's offering, she's going to be a great contact. So Roshaunda, I'll go ahead and let you take it from here. And thank you again so much for leading this workshop today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Ashley. I'm humbled and honored by all of your kind words. So, my name is Roshaunda Cade, and I am a graduate of the CTEDU program. I think I finished in 2019. I can't say I'm positive when it was. And I am an educator. I've worked in education for most of my adult life, and I am a coach. And based on my coaching experience and my education experience, and I have a lot of writing experience as well. I work with educators and I help them with their writing and with their self-care and with finding stillness. And that is what we'll be talking about today as we are talking about meditation today. So if you do not have something to write with and something to write on, you will need to get something. A notebook, a sheet of paper, something, you'll need that for today's exercises. So I want to talk about meditation today and entering into meditation through reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Meditation is about focus, it's about stillness. And we're going to look at reading, listening, writing, and speaking as ways to approach finding focus and finding stillness. Does that sound good for everyone? Okay. So we're going to go through a series of 4 different exercises based on one mantra is the best word I have. It's a quote from Kathy Wolf. And I will tell you what we need to be doing and the amount of time we have allocated to it. Each of the 4 parts is 3 parts, 3 parts within the 4 parts. So you'll have like 3 parts of doing the thing that we're gonna do, and then well, I'm sorry, 3 minutes of doing the thing that we're gonna do, and then 6 minutes of some guided journaling that we're gonna do to help you get your focus and your meditation on. So here we are at the read, listen, write, speak meditation. I'm going to show the quote, and what I want you to do for the first 3 minutes is just read the quote silently to yourself over and over. All right. So here's the quote, and I'm starting the timer. So for 3 minutes, just read silently to yourself. Okay, that was 3 minutes. Reading a short sentence over and over in 3 minutes is probably something most of us don't typically do. But there is a benefit in rereading something. It helps us let go of emotional and mental chatter. Reading something over and over has almost the same effect as living it, and it helps you create a visual imprint or memory of what you've read. So now I would like you to journal for 3 minutes about these questions. What came up for you? How is this sitting with you? What are you feeling and who are you being? was your 3 minutes. You can keep writing about what you're writing about if you were in the flow, but I have a second set of questions for you to contemplate for our next 3 minutes. So if you're not done with what you were writing, keep doing what you were writing. If you were done with what you're writing, you can move on to these questions. There is no correct and there is no incorrect. Right. That was 3 minutes. If you didn't get down everything you wanted to say, that's okay. You can go back and think more about it later. And we're going to keep in mind this is an introduction into some ways you can approach meditation. And I saw some of you shaking your hands. It's a lot of handwriting at one time, especially when we type all day long. So the second thing we're going to do is listen, and you get to listen to me read for about 3 minutes. So hopefully it'll go well for all of us. I want us to do this because if you recall story time when you were a little kid, either with the teachers or your parents or siblings, and somebody would read a text to you. And for most people, that was a pretty awesome thing. And we stopped doing that as adults until Audible became super popular. And now we listen to books and all sorts of stuff because it's a really great experience. But there are benefits to listening to somebody read. Listening to someone read can better help you replace negative thoughts with what you're hearing. It gives you increased emotional engagement with what is being read, and it gives you the feeling of total and complete immersion. So sit back, relax, while I read to you for a little bit. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. Perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they are actually the path. That was our 3 minutes. So we have the two same set of questions from last time. So I'll put up the first set of questions for you and I'll set our timer for 3 minutes. I'm going to move the slide to the next set of questions. But like last time, if you're in whatever your writing flow is, just keep doing what you're doing. So we have two more exercises to do. The next one is more writing intensive than what we have already done. So I wanted us to take a little bit of a break, give our hands a little bit of a break. And I am going to ask you Do you like to write longhand or do you prefer to type things out? For many people, typing is faster, and that is why many people prefer it. Because it just goes a lot faster and it's easier to read. I know I've handwritten things and couldn't read it. There are so many benefits of both writing by hand and typing, but in a situation where we are trying to be present, handwriting will typically get us there more easily. So for this next thing, I am going to have you write. We're going to truncate the time a little bit because it's a lot to write, a lot. But if you are typing and you have a computer screen up, if you can touch type and not look at your screen, I recommend closing your eyes. Or if you need to see your screen maybe a little bit, I would like turn it down some so it's not just straight at you. So I'm going to share my screen again. It's going to be on the quote, and I'm going to ask you to write the quote as many times as you can, not like hurried, but like just write it repeatedly. But I'm only going to give you a minute and a half since we've been writing a whole lot. For a minute and a half, please write the quote that you see on the screen. That was your minute and a half. I know it flew by. And for our next 2 sets of questions, I'm gonna put us at 2 minutes just because you have been writing so much. And I just shifted the screen to the second set of questions, and I'll give you about another 2 minutes for those. I see some of you are still writing. I'll give you a moment to finish up. No, I call this what? The reading, listening, writing, and speaking meditation. So we're getting to the speaking portion of our time together. Reading things aloud is actually really good for you. I know when, at least when I was in school, teachers didn't like it when people read aloud to themselves. And I'll be honest, as a student, I didn't like it because I found it distracting. I was like, I'm trying to do my thing and you're over there making noise. But I was probably a little more serious about my reading than maybe a lot of other people. But for this exercise, you are wherever you are and you can have mute on. And what I'm going to ask you to do, not for 3 minutes because people feel silly doing it for a full 3 minutes, but for another minute and a half, read the quote over and over. Some of the benefits of reading aloud is it improves your memory. It's called the production effect. You are producing the words with your mouth as you say them, which creates a memory. And for most of us, creating a memory solidifies imagery and it becomes something we can draw back on. So reading aloud is actually very powerful. It improves your comprehension and it's entertaining and joyful. And just as a bonus, if you're ever writing something, I strongly recommend you read it aloud before you give it to somebody else. That's one of the best proofreading tips I've got for everybody. So I will give you a minute and a half to, oh, is there a question? Yeah, I'm with you. I like reading in silence, but each of you will be in your own bubble of silence as you read. So read aloud for a minute and a half the quote on your screen. Go. Hey, that was your minute and a half, and it was beautiful to watch all of you reading aloud. Thank you. We'll take a couple minutes for each set of questions. I'll move us to our next set of questions. Right. That was your 2 minutes. Thus ends our guided journaling portion of today's session. Thank you for all of your writing. I know that it's not often that we have tasks that call us to write this much, so I appreciate that each of you just dived in and stayed with me. So we've looked at the same quote repeatedly today. We've read it, we've listened to it, we've written it, and we've spoken it. This has been intentionally repetitive. We learn to internalize this affirmation as we go through it a number of different ways. Repetition with small variations gives us an opportunity to apply the knowledge that we're gaining in new ways. And we've touched on multiple senses. We've used our sense of sight as we've read. We've used our sense of touch as we've written. We didn't exactly use our sense of taste because we didn't taste anything, but speaking aloud uses our mouths. And we used our sense of hearing through listening. I didn't figure out a way to incorporate our sense of smell into this, but like if you had lit a candle or had something like that going on, that would have been a great way to incorporate your sense of smell. But layering senses and using multiple techniques also helps us to internalize whatever it is that we're approaching. And these are all good ways to think about meditation. I know sometimes I just think about meditation is a way for me to focus on my breath or to focus on a visualization or maybe a body scan, but we can be fully immersed in all of our senses in many ways as we approach meditation. And if we think of meditation as focus and as stillness, we can see that meditation can happen in all kinds of situations and in all kinds of ways if we're open to incorporating that as part of practice. So we only have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to give anybody who wanted to talk about what you experienced today the opportunity to do so. Like, how was it for you? What was powerful for you? How do you think you'll move forward? Any sort of things you might want to share with the group, please feel free to do so. What we say to ourselves and what we read and what we listen to, it's all very powerful if we let it be. Ashley and I were talking, and we were both talking about how this is a good way to approach reading scripture as well. And I was telling her that's actually what this stemmed from. I was trying to memorize some Bible verses and to get more in tune with God, and this grew it grew out of that for me. So I know we are almost out of time. Thank you everyone for open hearts and open minds and participating. Because sometimes I ask people to do weird things and you're like, okay, do it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate each of you and I appreciate the opportunity, Ashley.
Yeah, thank you. And one thing I would say for everybody, if you feel inclined when we share this blog post, if you want to share something in the comments that you learned or what connected with you, there's no pressure, but just to support Roshaunda in that way, get people more connected with her would be amazing. So thank you all so much for being here. We hope to see you at the next workshop. Have a beautiful week. And yeah, I'm so excited to see where our paths take us as we get to know each other more. Enjoy it. Take care.